Hey everybody, this is Alzorath, and welcome to the Whirlwind Assassin video. This is one of a few varieties of Whirlwind Assassin. I may do the other ones in the future, and possibly some of the challenge ones that some people have posed out here. There are some interesting variants, there are some interesting kind of choices that you have to make whenever making these, and we'll cover them whenever we jump into the stats and stuff. I just wanted you guys to see that, yes, this can actually kill Baal relatively easily. There's not much you really need to worry about with the, well, Assassin. She's just pretty stocky. You actually have Fade to help you with resist. You have a bunch of other kind of like strong attacks as well. But anyway, I think we should probably have killed the Baal by now. It does take a little bit longer on this build. 1v1, it doesn't do quite as well as whenever it's fighting swarms, but it is capable of doing, thanks to a comment, I'm mentioning this, it is capable of doing players 8 with physical damage. It's a little slow, but there really isn't anything that can stop it that way as long as you're smart about your engagements. That's because it relies more on crushing blow and just fast attacks than necessarily doing anything super amazing like one-shotting enemies like the Tesla Sorceress or like that. It's just really sturdy, it leeches a lot, it's pretty solid. But anyway, as far as going into the stats go, this is going to be a Whirlwind Trap hybrid. Now, the traps are not necessarily necessary, but we'll cover that when we get to the skills. Now, as far as stats, I get enough strength and dexterity for claws that I want to use. In this case, enough strength for armor and stuff like that as well, which, yeah, we need a little bit more for the armor than we do for the actual claws because we're using Sawayas. But strength, dexterity, just enough for your gear. You could dump dexterity for more attack rating, but it's really inefficient. Instead, I prefer to go to vitality and just rely on my skills and stuff like that to actually give me a decent attack rating going into things. Yeah, 5,000 isn't amazing, but it gives us a decent chance to actually hit stuff. Energy, nothing. You are relying on leech for this build, so yeah, you're going to have to live with that. Now, as far as skills go, which we will jump into the tree here, it's fairly straightforward. Now, I did gear this up as if I had no gear for it. You can, if you get the right gear. I didn't actually need to put these points up here. That would have saved me more points for traps. But I decided to go ahead and get the points down here so it would be more reflective of what you're more likely to actually find. Because we use Dragonflight to get close to enemies and then we Whirlwind out. It's kind of an important thing to do. And this would actually be even more useful if you were doing a Whirlwind / Kick Assassin, because then you could use Dragon Talons with your particular attacks, and it would still be useful with this. It's just you're stacking melee on top of melee, physical damage on top of physical damage, so you're not really getting the same diversity you would get from traps. But it's still there, and this is actually a very powerful skill to use with this build if you wanted to go that route as well. Now, that is just for 1 point in Dragonflight, just so we can actually teleport and do some damage. It gives us a little bit of attack rating boost. You could boost it up more if you wanted to. Doesn't really help too much because it doesn't matter if it hits, it's just getting you in range of them. Now, as far as traps go, which is the kind of like side interest of this, some people will actually go into the Fury end of things, which is fine, but again, it's stacking physical on top of physical. Blade Shield I don't recommend because it does impact the durability of your weapons, which is already a problem with this particular character because my repair costs, because I have plus skills on my claws, are super expensive. So I stick with traps as support things. I'll drop them out and then I'll do all my kind of teleporting and spinning crap. So what I did is I went max Death Sentry, max Lightning Sentry, and then every level I'm getting beyond that is being dumped into Fire Blast to give my Death Sentry more shots. I don't actually drop Lightning Sentries. You can see that without the other lightning synergies, the Death Sentry is just going to do more damage per shot. So, yay. It doesn't get any boost unless I actually invest in these two, and we don't have the points for that. So I do this, and I actually use the Fire Blast points to boost the number of shots this gets, and the Corpse Explosion is extremely powerful if you are on lower player counts like 1 through 5. So it does wreck things' faces, and it's very useful, especially whenever your Shadow uses it, because it actually gets a higher level Death Sentry than you. Now, as far as the Shadow disciplines, this is where most of your power comes from with this, other than your equipment, of course. That is Max Claw Mastery, because we are a dual claw assassin here. We have Weapon Block. I only have level 5 of it. It's enough. You can get more. It can be more useful, and we are using Fade as well. You do want to get a decent amount of points into this, whether it's through actual points or through plus skills. possibly through like plus skill charms. you want to get it up to 5 to 10 for levels, because you get 1% damage reduction, which is physical damage reduction, for each level in it, as well as the 50% resist all that we have from level 8 here, which puts us, well, at max resists. Shadow Master is maxed out on this one. There are no real synergies for it. It just kind of, the way the Shadow Master works is it spawns in with equipment based on its level, which is there, and its skill levels, which it can use every skill that the assassin has available, whether you have it or not, but its skill level is varied based on its level and the level you have in that skill. So if you have 0 points in that skill, it doesn't get much more of a bonus beyond just what the Shadow Master bonus is, whereas whenever we have a maxed out skill, it has a bigger bonus from that, plus its Shadow Master skills, and I don't think it's actually higher level Death Sentry. I think it's relatively close, though, so it doesn't really matter. Its traps do count against your kind of stack, though, so do be aware of that. You could go Shadow Warrior if you wanted to control what it was casting, but Shadow Warriors lack resist all. They are just generally less tanky than the Shadow Master. Shadow Master does sometimes use Mind Blast, though, which turns enemies into slaves, which makes it really kind of annoying, especially against Bale Waves, because then you can end up with multiple Bale Waves out at once, which is a royal pain in the ass. Now, the most important thing of this, because it's a Whirlwind Assassin, you have to have a specific piece of gear. That is going to be the Chaos Sawaya. Well, you don't have to have it in Sawaya's. Sawaya or Scissor Sawaya are going to be your best options for it because they have the highest average damage, and you have enough attack speed to hit the max frame with it. So yeah, I think it's down to, with Whirlwind, 2 frames per attack because I'm using dual claws. If you were using 1 claw on a shield, it would be 4 frames per attack because of how it works. It's a little bit wonky. You'd have to go look at the Whirlwind guides and stuff like that that are out there, but this is what I've got as far as my Chaos goes. You notice I've got 3 Dragonflight in there, some Death Sentry, and Blade Shield. Yay! The skill I'm not going to use because it ruins my durability. These are super expensive to repair with all the plus skills. If you are not gold flush, I would definitely recommend not getting one with plus skills on it. This is just a normal Sawaya with the 3 sockets and plus skills in it. It's not a superior one. Superior would make it even worse on the upkeep cost. If I do like a big player's 8 run, generally speaking, I'm looking at a 6-digit repair cost on all the equipment here. Without all the skills and without superior, you're going to have it be a little bit cheaper, but it's still going to be relatively expensive. The same for Scissors, Sawaya, and stuff like that. But worth noting on Whirlwind, this may have Frozen Orb and Charge Bolt on Striking. Whirlwind cannot proc those, so it's not going to do it. This is mostly going to be, you're going to be hitting with this for open wounds and for the Whirlwind. The other weapon we're using is a Fury Sawaya. This is not my Ethereal one because the Ethereal one would break. We actually have the Ethereal in our inventory. I wanted to have a fast enough weapon. I wanted ignore target defense, so I'd actually have a regular chance of actually striking. This one has Deadly Strike and more open wounds opportunities, so pretty much you're going to be making things bleed regardless with this build. Both the hits have an opportunity to do it. You're going to be hitting very fast, so things are going to be bleeding, so their life is going to tick down if you're not killing them in 1 or 2 hits anyway, especially if you're on like players 1 or 2. It bleeds them down. They die before you can bleed them. But on players like 5 to 8, you tend to be doing more Crushing Blow plus bleed, and you're like whittling them down. They're just wearing down over time, and then they die. So just kind of remember that. This does well in players 8. It's just a little bit slower. This one has plus skills as well. That's also contributing to my extreme cost of repairs. They're very expensive Sawayas, so you may not be able to get them early on. So an option is if you get the Chaos Sawaya and you don't have the runes for the Fury, you can actually go with a Fool's Sawaya, which you can actually shop from Anya over there in Hell difficulty. Just shop it from her, and it's going to be a bunch of plus attack rating and some plus max damage. It's going to do the work. It's going to do decent work as long as you have other procs like Crushing Blow, Bleed, and stuff like that. And that's why we look like a Minotaur here, is because we are going after Crushing Blow with Guillalume's face. Or Guillaume's face. I think it's Guillalume. But it's got faster hit recovery. It's got Crushing Blow and Deadly Strike. I've got a Ruby Jewel in this one. This is the one that you guys have seen before. 39% enhanced damage. You could go for 40% enhanced damage, a perfect one if you really wanted to. Possibly some resists in a Jewel, stuff like that. Generally speaking, it's not super important. And attack speed is not going to help your Whirlwind on your helmet. Attack speed is what you want on the weapons. So yeah, it's funky, but it's there. This gives you that extra chance of double damage from your attacks, and it gives you that crushing blow chance, which works out quite well because 1 in 3 hits, even with just Guillalume's face, is going to give you 1 in 3 crushing blows, which is, let's see, you get 12 hits per Whirlwind if you hit every single time, so 4 of those hits are going to be crushing blow. Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. As far as armor goes, I'm just using Chains of Honor because I need the resists. I don't care about teleport on this. I move fast enough as is to not have to worry about that, and we have a teleport skill through the Dragonflight. So yes, you can just Dragonflight boom, boom, boom from group to group to group to group to not have to stop at each one. You are going to get hit doing that, but you can just Whirlwind out and leech back all your life and stuff like that relatively easily. So that's why I don't use Enigma, that and I don't feel like wasting things on faster cast. Amulet, just Mara's Kaleidoscope, just because it's plain and simple. Could go for the High Lord's Wrath if you wanted some more Deadly Strike, which honestly is unnecessary with this in my opinion. You have enough of a chance to crit hit. So I like the resists, which help me reach that kind of max out point. Honestly, the only thing that might be better, and even still, I would still probably use this over a +2 Assassin amulet with like dual leech and resists and stats. I would probably use this over that simply because the +2 skills on here actually applies to your Whirlwind. We can hover over here. We see I have a level 5 Whirlwind because we have +4 all skills rather than +4 Assassin skills. So that brings us up to level 5, which reduces the damage penalty of Whirlwind, gives us a little bit more attack rating. It's kind of nice. So other plus skills would be very welcome, but we're actually using a Doom Loop, which is the one that you see me pass around all the time. It's my dual leech ring that I absolutely adore. So yeah, it's wonderful. And we've got a Ravenfrost for Cannot Be Frozen. You could opt out of using Ravenfrost and actually use like a Bulkathos or something like that. The reason being is the way that cold and slow and stuff works against the Whirlwind is funky. So I personally just don't like being frozen because I like being able to get out of trouble, but there are reasons to want to be chilled on this build, which is kind of awkward, but it's there. You'll have to go look at the guides and stuff like that on Whirlwind to figure out what I'm talking about. It's awkward and I don't use it very often, so I don't feel comfortable explaining it. String of Ears on the belt for damage reduction and life leech. You can see that we have a decent amount of leech going on here. We've got like, yes, 8 plus 6, 5 plus 6 plus, I think this one, yeah, has 8 life leech on it as well. So it adds up. We've got plenty of leech going on here, and we've got decent enough resists. And we have a little bit of cold absorb as well that I never really like pay attention to. As far as our boots, I'm using Gore Rider. That gives us more crushing blow, which works well with the helmet, gives us more chance of open wounds, which works well with drawing enemies down, and it has more deadly strike, which gives us more chances of dealing double damage, which is always nice. Other than that, not really a big use of it. 30% faster run walk is nice. And as far as gloves, this is not really optimal, but this is what I'm using. This is 7% mana steal and 5% life leech. Honestly, if I was going to be going for like optimal, I would probably want some rare crafted blood gloves with like +2 assassin skills and maybe dual leech, maybe some resists, stuff like that. But I don't actually have gloves like that, so I'm using this. This is just a really good, just cookie cutter item that I can say, I want vamp braces on this for dual leech. Lovely. And minus monster defense per hit doesn't hurt either. Although it takes a while for that 50 monster defense to actually do anything. You don't really see much of an effect from it. As far as the charms, just attack rating, damage charms, I have some junk ones on here, some resists, a little bit of life, stuff like that. Just throwing things on there just for funsies because I wanted to fill it up looking nice. Honestly, this can work without the charms. It's just there. Now, I think that's everything on this particular build. As far as gameplay strategy, you generally, as far as like side gear, right now I just have an edge bow I'm holding on for something, but you'd probably want to do like battle orders and stuff like that to make your shadow even tankier, your mercenary even tankier. It's not entirely necessary, but it's there. It's good enough. So let's go ahead and show this off. We'll go to Frigid Highlands first. I'll show off just kind of like what I do on this. If I'm just being lazy, I'll just go ahead and drop through here, and you can see, boom, it just destroys everything. Everything just dies. There really isn't much that stands a chance to it. We have super high resists, and we don't have to worry about hardly anything. And frankly, teleporting to stuff almost kills it by itself because we land there with our mercenary. And by the way, our mercenary is using Fortitude, Endarel's Visage, and Reaper's Toll as per usual for the physical characters. Now, the undead, kind of a pain in the butt, but even still, you're not going to be hurting too bad with it, because generally, whenever you're farming places, the undead are only part of the problem. So if you are facing a lot of undead, I would recommend switching over to traps. So you drop out a few traps if you're not feeling lazy, and then whenever things start dying, they start exploding. So let's go ahead and just drop out a bunch of traps. We'll just go ahead and drop a ton since our Shadow decided she wants to just kind of vanish off somewhere, and you can see that adds up really, really quick, just the, like, corpse explosions. So let's go into the middle of this, and you can see as soon as they start falling, just blows everything up. Now, you don't need to use these. If you want to particularly restrict yourself, you could stick with purely physical. If you are going purely physical, and this is a special note just for you, special viewer, is I would actually recommend, instead of, if you're going pure physical, skip traps, and go either Blade Fury, so you have a ranged attack, and just come down here, grab this, max it out, use the crushing blow and your decent damage weapon to actually make it do some work for you. It shoots fairly fast. Or go straight into the kick end of things and go max Dragon Talon to follow up with the Dragon Flight. That way you can focus down single targets better than the Whirlwind. So you have Whirlwind for crowd clear, which is relatively effective. And where did our Shadow go? I think she just despawned. But yeah. So you have the Whirlwind for the crowd control, and you have the Dragon Talon right here for the boss killer, because that just chains up a holy living nightmare on bosses. Ton of damage. It's an amazing item, and that's one reason why I love the Fury Talon hybrid as well. So anyway, that's going to be this episode of Diablo 2. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the Whirlwind Assassin, and it whirlwinded its way through your hearts. Really fun, can go through any difficulty. Honestly, there really isn't anywhere that can challenge it. There is nothing in the game that is a huge threat to it. Even physical immunes, you just drop the traps out and kill it that way, in my opinion. Or you let your mercenary decrepify them and turn ghosts into squishy little bumpkins. But yeah, keep gaming, have fun, peace out, and I'll see you guys next time on another Diablo 2 build video, whenever we're going to be trying out probably a weird build or a lazy build. I don't do too many of these cookie cutter kind of builds unless absolutely necessary. Bye.